If you've been listening to the Eat More Carbs podcast, you know that Reilly and I are both in our running era. To make sure that we're properly fueled for training, we're using both carbohydrates and 2before.
2before is an all-natural pre-workout designed to enhance athletic performance through the benefits of New Zealand blackcurrant berries. Studies have shown these berries to increase vasodilation and prime the body to kickstart muscle recovery. These antioxidant-rich berries have a sweet and tangy flavor and will level up your performance and recovery. Use code Reilly for 20% off 20 packs and multi-serve packs online at 2before.com.
This is the Eat More Carbs podcast. Hello and welcome to the Eat More Carbs podcast. My name is Jenna Fisher and I'm here with my co-host Reilly Beatty. Today we're going to be talking a lot about energy and sports bars.
A quick reminder before jumping into today's episode, it would really help out our small business and help other athletes find this podcast if you gave us a 5-star rating and review.
Reilly, what's your high and low?
I'm starting off with my low this week. I have 2 dogs. Our oldest dog, his name is Oj, and unfortunately Oj has like a cavity or a cracked tooth. So he has to get some dental work done. And unfortunately, I am not smart like Jenna, and I do not have pet insurance for my pups. And they quoted me $2,800 for him to get his tooth fixed.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, Oj, do you need your tooth?
At that point, can they pull it and it would be less expensive? Is that a possibility?
The problem is they have to like put him under anesthesia because it's his tooth. And that's what really costs all the money. So
it's the anesthesia, not the dental work itself.
Yeah. I was like, my jaw hit the ground. I was like, that is a lot of money. Yeah, that is a low. My high, I'm getting actually very strong because I'm carrying Charlie around all of the time. Girlie went to the doctor this week for her 6-month checkup, and she's almost 15 pounds, which I actually thought she was 18 pounds because she's so heavy. But she's only 14, like almost 15 pounds. But I am getting pretty strong, and it was very apparent to me when I was carrying the groceries in, and I could carry many more bags on my trip. I only had to make 1 trip. So that was my high.
Isn't that so funny how so many people measure their strength increase by how many bags of groceries they can carry in at a single time?
Yes. I also am consistently reminded that I'm not pregnant because of how many bags I can carry in from my grocery trip.
We're thankful for all the things when it comes to easy groceries in the house.
Exactly. What about you? What are your high and low?
Mine is going to be kind of the same story. I have a problem that when I see a good deal, I have a hard time saying no. So we're recording this podcast the week of Amazon Prime deals.
Oh no.
And my problem is that I put so many things in the cart because I just get so excited about the deals. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've been eyeing this, but a lot of the Amazon Prime deals are time sensitive. Like you put it in your cart and it starts a countdown, which makes me feel such a pressure to buy things. So when I do that, I have 2 reactions. One is that I just like hit purchase and everything that's, got the green check mark in Amazon cart is now mine. Or B, I like get too much buying pressure. So I just close the app because I don't like the impulsive decision. I just like to put things in my cart and like let it sit. Like I need to think about it. I'm like, ooh, I like that. So I guess
imagining you being stressed right now in Arizona with 20 things in your cart and like the time's ticking down for each of the products.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what do I do? Like, do I really need this? I only have 9 minutes and 30 seconds left to decide if I need this or not. Okay. And like, let me tell you, I don't need it. Like, I do not need it. Anyway, Amazon Prime deal got me on some of the times I was in the app. Not all the times, thank goodness. Otherwise, I would be in serious financial trouble. But the couple times that it did get me, it got me. So, I have a couple new things on the way. They should be arriving at any moment now. That's the high-low situation. But to emphasize the low, I was on social media last night and I see this reel of this woman who makes this post and she's like, all of Amazon's employees. And it's a picture of like a furniture thing and it's like $67. And then she shows the same poof and it's like Amazon Prime deal and it's like $67, 37% off. And like they've inflated the original price to make people think that they're getting a good deal. So it was in that moment that I realized that Amazon just scammed me out of all of this money thinking that I was getting good deals, and they pressured me into making the decision. The high part of this is that I'm really excited for the new glasses I have for my kitchen. So I have some great kitchen things coming that I actually really did want, but I really am upset with myself that I let it get to that point. Thanks for listening to my rant about Amazon Prime deals. Don't buy anything unless you really need it.
I also heard too that they like inflate the prices so that you think you're getting a deal.
Yeah, and you're not. I could go on there right now and look at everything that I purchased from Amazon Prime deals, and like I could buy it today for the same price, maybe even less.
It got me so good this year. I saw an ad. I literally clicked on the ad. I went and picked the size, and then I clicked purchase. And it was like within 30 seconds, I had just given them $30. And I was like, yes.
They didn't even need that countdown clock on you. They just got you right away.
Like, I could beat that clock. I got you. Yeah. Well, on the topic of things that you should and should not spend your money on, we are going to be playing Smash or Pass bars today. And we're going to be chatting about which bars are going to be worth purchasing and which ones you should maybe leave on the shelf.
Chatting about this, we're going to be looking at all of these bars that Reilly and I review from the standpoint of if it's something we should be using prior to a run as a pre-run fuel. We tend to take the approach when it comes to bars as maybe a plan B or a plan C, a great option to have as a backup, maybe not our preferred source of fuel before training in the first place, but a really convenient one, a really great backup option to have in your bag to take with you to work, something along those lines. So just as the caveat before we get into what we feel or what we recommend for runners before a run from a bar perspective.
So Jenna, as our running specialist, I have so many questions for you about these bars. Like you mentioned, can be a great plan B or a plan C, but can also be a plan A for maybe like an early morning run. Starting off, let's talk about a Cliff Bar. Are we smashing or are we passing?
I'm smashing with the Cliff Bar, and the reason for that is that it has a good amount of carbohydrates. They're an energy bar, so we want carbs right before we go on a run. The things that we really don't want in a run or a pre-run fuel, pre-run snack are going to be things like high fat, high protein, and high fiber. A lot of bars are going to have a fair amount of fiber in them from like an oat perspective or something like that, but a Cliff Bar doesn't have too much fiber, and for most runners, they can tolerate that pretty well before a run. So it's a smash for me from a Cliff Bar.
I also love that Cliff Bars are available like almost everywhere. We will link the episode below when you talked about your race in San Diego, but practicing your fueling at home and, making sure that you feel comfortable doing that while you're away. A Cliff Bar is really easy because you can practice that at your house, and then when you're going to your race site that a Cliff Bar will probably be available at a CVS or a grocery store.
Yep, exactly.
Another really popular bar among the running community is going to be a Go Macro Bar. Are we smashing or are we passing?
For me, Go Macro Bar is also a smash, very similar as far as when we're looking at it, like compared to a Cliff Bar. It's more of an energy bar, has a good amount of carbohydrates, typically not as high in fiber as some of the other bar options out there. It's going to provide a good amount of carbohydrates. I actually think they taste really, really good. So for me, Go Macro Bar is a good one if you tolerate it before a run as a pre-run snack that has a good amount of carbohydrate.
Following up on that, Go Macro Bars are going to be more energy dense compared to some of the other bars that we're going to be talking about. Do you recommend eating the whole bar before a run, or do you recommend having half of it? I feel like I hear different things in the running community.
I think it's going to depend on how far out you're eating that bar. So if you have a longer time before you're running and you're eating this, an hour plus before you run, we maybe could eat the whole thing. But if we have less than an hour to digest that before we start our run, maybe only consuming about half of it and seeing how you do.
Another bar that is similar to a Go Macro Bar, I feel like it's in a similar space, is going to be an RX bar. What do we think about an RX bar?
RX bars are primarily sweetened with dates. Dates are a great option as far as a pre-workout. So an RX bar is a pretty good one to do pre-run. They are a little bit chewier and maybe feel a little bit more dense than some of our other options. So again, it just kind of depends on the runner whether or not they can tolerate that well. But from just looking at it from a carbohydrate standpoint and some of the other things that we're looking at as far as pre-run fuel, it's a pretty good one. So I'm going to smash.
I also think that these flavors are so delicious. I know you didn't ask me, but I'm also going to smash on an RX bar. And I'm also super excited to see them be more readily available. I feel like these are similar now to Cliff Bars where they're available at a lot of different locations.
I remember a couple of years ago, like when they first came out and you could only find them at like health food stores. I specifically remember like going to a health food store to get specifically RX bars because I wanted to try them. But now you can find them at CVS, find them at Walmart, you can find them pretty much anywhere. So again, a good option if you're looking for a familiar fuel and something that you can practice with. It's probably going to be available in multiple places.
They also have different products in their line now too. They have like a breakfast bar, they have a kids bar. They just have a variety of different bars. So probably practicing with which one feels the best for you too.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Something else that I always see at the grocery store as well, and I get a lot of questions about this, and I know you do too, is going to be about Quest bars. I feel like they are all over the grocery store. I see them. They have like a whole wall when I go to Target. What about Quest bars? Are we smashing or are we passing?
Quest bars pre-run are not something that I'm going to be recommending. They tend to be a little bit higher in protein when we're looking at them compared to some of our other energy bar options like we've just gone over. And like we said, protein's not something that we necessarily need to focus on pre-run. There is a lot of artificial sweeteners in a Quest bar, which is another thing that I recommend runners avoid prior to starting a run. The reason for that is that oftentimes it can draw more water into the gut and we can experience some not so fun GI side effects depending on how you react to those things. So from the standpoint of artificial sweeteners, for what I'm looking for from a pre-run standpoint, pass on Quest bars. I also just don't love the way that a Quest bar tastes. That's me personally. I don't want to eat something that I don't like the way that it tastes or I'm not enjoying. So from that standpoint, if you find yourself not enjoying a Quest bar just because they're branded as something that really helps, athletes meet their goals or something like that, you don't need to eat it.
I used to like Quest bars when I was like really struggling with like some disordered eating and different things like that, especially because they were like the only bar I feel like on the market like 10 years ago that was like 20 grams of protein. But now as a dietitian, like looking at that food label, I'm also having a strong pass with those products.
If there are products that people are like, it tastes better if you put it in the microwave and heat it up, and like, why should we need to like truly like really alter something that's meant for consumption right out of the package in order to like make it taste appetizing? That to me is also kind of like, do I want to eat this? That's just a personal though.
Yeah, no, I mean, it just goes back to the why. Like everything that we talk about on this podcast, it's why are we eating it? If we really love the taste of a Quest bar, eat the Quest bar. But are you eating it because you're afraid of getting sugar in another version? Or are you eating it because, again, it's like the healthiest way to get protein, where these, are not maybe the best intentions, but if you love the taste of it, if it's something that you really enjoy, don't eat it before your run, please.
Exactly. I think that's with a lot of these though, right? Like we can, just like when we talked through all of the sports drinks that we did on our Smash or Pass sports drinks episode, so many of the hydration products that we went over might not be recommended like around training or around a game, but we can use them as a hydration product if we really like them and they're not impacting our goals or impacting our gut in a negative way.
Yeah, I guess it goes back to, it depends.
It always does.
What about chewy bars? This is another product that we see all over the grocery store.
I really like a chewy bar, honestly, like easy carbohydrates. They are going to have a little bit of fiber, just kind of like all the rest of these bars have, because so many of them are oat based. But if you tolerate them well, I think they're easy, quick, affordable, readily available. Great ones for like high school athletes, high school runners, like in between like end of school, start of track practice. So things like that are really easy, really small, easy to digest, ready to go. I like a chewy bar, so smash.
This might just be something that I struggle with personally, but around training and workouts, it can be sometimes hard for me to fuel with really flavorful foods. So I love that a chewy bar is going to be more of a bland flavor sometimes. And they do have options, obviously, for, things that have more flavor, but I feel like it is a great option for somebody who might struggle with the same thing that I do and just want something a little bit less, just more bland.
I think that's interesting that you bring that up, because I remember like when growing up, my mom used to buy chewy bars, like the giant pack from like Costco and Sam's, and it would have like a 3 flavor version or something like that. Like this was way, way back in the day. Even between the flavors of the chewy bars, they all tasted relatively similar. So they were like, had, a plain version or like a chocolate chip version, or maybe the third one was maybe like a s'mores. I don't really remember, but like throughout all of them, they tasted so similar and so familiar that like it didn't really matter which one you had. You were always kind of getting that like base flavor that all of them have. They're all pretty similar and all pretty, like you said, an easy one for sure.
What about barbells? I don't know how to say this. I feel like you and I have talked about this multiple times, but barbells, bearbells, what about these bars? They've become really popular over the last couple of years.
I'm just gonna like put this out there. If they don't bother your stomach, that is awesome. I still would not recommend eating them right before a run because they do have a type of sweetener in them that is known to act as a laxative effect. So probably not the one that I would be recommending right before a run. It's also one that's a little bit higher in protein, and maybe we're not wanting protein right before we run. So if you like a barbell, great. Same kind of thing with like Quest bar. It's totally on you if you like that and want to incorporate that as part of your fueling. I just wouldn't do it before a run.
And then we're ending with Kind bars. This is another one that is readily available and I feel like has gotten really popular over the last like 5 to 10 years.
I think Kind bars, I don't know how to answer this. I don't, because it truly depends. And there are so many different types of Kind bars. There are some that are like very nut forward that might be too fibrous for us right before a run, in which case I might pass. And then there are others that are going to be a chewy version, and those ones I might smash. There's also like ice cream versions of Kind bars. There are mini ones, big ones. Like there are so many different options that Kind bars has now. So I'm just going to say it depends with Kind bars. I can't smash or pass because there might be certain ones that I felt good with and other ones that I definitely wouldn't recommend. So really, just like all things in nutrition, it comes back to the why. It comes back to the it depends. And it's okay to have those answers. If you have specific ones for specific times of day, before training, after training, that you want to know about specifically, just DM us on Instagram. You can find me at jenna.fisher.nutrition. You can find Reilly at easy.sports.nutrition. And we'd happily answer your specific question about, sports drink, energy bar, and when you're implementing that into your fueling to make sure that it's hopefully the best way to do that without causing any GI upset, with providing you with enough energy and nutrients to get through whatever training you have for the remainder of the day. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Eat More Carbs podcast, the official podcast for the Performance Fueling Club. Please make sure you rate, subscribe, and review. And as always, remember to eat more carbs.